So we just saw Vergil Ortiz get a dominant first round TKO victory against Frederick Lawson, and as poor of a performance it was from the referee Tony Weeks and as terrible of a stoppage it was, Vergil Ortiz did look great while the fight lasted. He looked dominant, he looked destructive as usual, and he got the very impressive first round TKO victory, even if the stoppage was very terrible. Now this is a good thing for Vergil that he came back looking sharp, looking explosive, and it opens up a lot of big opportunities for him. And the main fight that I want to see for Vergil Ortiz, the main fight I want to see at 154 at this point, is Vergil Ortiz versus Tszyu. This fight has all of the makings of a super fight. Both fighters have big fan bases, especially Tszyu overseas in Australia. He is huge over there. Vergil Ortiz has a nice big fan base growing as well. Both fighters undefeated, both fighters dominant, looking great in their fights, fighting solid opposition, specifically Tszyu, but we have seen Vergil fight some good opponents in the past, and I do see him fighting better opposition soon, as well as I see him probably facing Josh Kelly next for the mandatory spot at WBO, while Tszyu takes on Erickson Lubin. And this fight has all the makings of a tremendous back-and-forth bloodbath. The makings of a war. This is fight of the year potential, and I cannot wait. I really hope it happens soon. Late in 2024, ideally, let Tszyu defeat, I should say, because I do think it will be a tough fight. Let him defeat Erickson Lubin. Let Vergil Ortiz defeat Josh Kelly and make the fight happen. There's no other fight at 154 I want to see as much as this one. This is a great fight. Such a great matchup. I'm just thinking about it now. It's making me feel like a kid going to an amusement park, man. It has that type of enjoyment in my heart because it's such a great fight and it would be such a battle, back and forth fight. And both fighters, I'm a big fan of both guys. I love Vergil Ortiz, I love Tszyu. Those are two guys I really enjoy watching and I really appreciate because they always give the fans what we want. They always give us great fights and they fight top opposition, specifically Tszyu. I mean, Vergil Ortiz hasn't fought anyone great as of late, I'm not going to lie, but when Vergil Ortiz was hot, when he was really on a run, he was taking on good opposition. He fought Mean Machine, he fought Maurice Hooker. He was doing his thing, and I believe now he has to build himself back to that point. He's had some injuries, he's had some stuff going on privately that have slowed him down, where he fought McKinson, and then he fought Lawson. Neither of those wins are great, especially the Lawson win. That win means nothing. McKinson's a decent opponent, actually. But I expect Vergil to get back on winning ways when it comes to him facing better opposition. I expect that to happen in 2024. I think Vergil will have a big year in some way. I expect him to fight Josh Kelly next sometime in the summer, maybe late spring, but probably summer. Hopefully he fights in like April or May because he took no punishment at all. And I expect Tszyu to take on Erickson Lubin around April, sometime in that range. And hopefully they can set up a fight for each other late summer, early fall. I would love to see that happen. I think it would be a great matchup. And when you look at this fight, when you break it down, you look at how they fight. Vergil Ortiz, 20-0 of 20 knockouts. He is a seek and destroy type of fighter. He takes out all of his opponents. 100% knockout ratios, looked really good in his fights. Has had some difficult fights as well. The Mean Machine fight wasn't a walk in the park at all. He got buzzed in that fight. He had some issues with Mean Machine. Maurice Hooker gave him some problems as well early on. He did break them down and get the stoppages, but we saw that he is a guy that can get hit. He's not perfect. His defense isn't perfect, but he's a great fighter nonetheless. Tszyu, he's a guy where I feel he probably has a little less God-gifted ability than Vergil Ortiz. I think his natural ability isn't as high as Vergil's, but what makes Tszyu close that gap is his hard work ethic. This is a guy that has tremendous work ethic, pushes himself to the limit, is constantly testing himself, constantly improving. I mean, Tszyu's improvement in the last couple of years has been borderline astonishing. He deserves much more credit for how much he's improved in the last couple of years. I mean, a few years ago, I really didn't view him as anything tremendous. Even a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, or nearly 2 years ago when he fought Terrell Gausha, he looked very poor in that fight. He dominated, but he got dropped early. He didn't really batter Terrell Gausha. He didn't look very impressive. He came back from that fight, obliterated and demolished and broke down Tony Harrison, destroyed a compo in a round, and took out Brian Mendoza in a competitive but clear decision victory. The same Mendoza just knocked out Sebastian Fundora. I mean, this is a guy that has really improved drastically. His hard work ethic, I believe Vergil does have a good work ethic as well, but Vergil, I'm not going to say he's shown to be undisciplined because there's no evidence of that, but he has shown to be a little inconsistent, I would say. He's missed weight before. He's had to pull out of a lot of fights. I'm not going to get into reasoning of why he pulled out of those fights. I'm not going to blame him. A lot of the stuff wasn't really his fault, but he seemed to be a little less consistent than Tszyu, who has a tremendous work ethic, is constantly fighting multiple fights per year. He fought 3 times last year. I mean, when's the last time we saw an elite fighter fight 3 times in a year? It's been a very long time. Tszyu fought 3 times last year. He is closing that gap. I think, as I said, off of pure natural God-given talent and God-given ability, Vergil's probably a good level or two above Tszyu. But Tszyu has improved so much. He is such a elite fighter. I mean, Tszyu has really, really proven himself to be a tremendous talent. He's becoming one of my favorite fighters. He is fighting consistently. He has high ambitions, high goals, and I see him versus Vergil Ortiz for the WBO happening very soon. I'm very excited for that possibility. Now, Vergil Ortiz has been rumored to take on big opponents before, and those fights never ended up happening. He was rumored to fight Terrence Crawford at one point. He was rumored to fight Yordenis Ugas at one point. He was rumored to fight Keith Thurman. He's been rumored to fight a lot of these guys. He was supposed to fight Mentis Stanionis twice, or 3 times even. That would have been a really good fight. That fight fell through as well. So I don't know if this fight will happen because Vergil Ortiz has had to pull out of a lot of solid opportunities. But hopefully it does happen, and I would love to see it. I think this fight would be a tremendous battle. I'm really wondering who would come out on top. You know, if I had to pick, I'd probably still edge out Vergil. I don't think it'd be easy. I think it'd be a battle, and Tszyu might end up catching him and stopping him late. I think it's such a tough fight to call. I'd probably edge Vergil right now, but I want to see a little more from Vergil Ortiz before I make that pick. I would like to see Vergil Ortiz versus Josh Kelly. I think Josh Kelly's improved a lot in the last couple of years. He's the number 1 guy in the WBO. I think that would be a good test for Vergil to see where he's at, a good litmus test. I'd like to see Tszyu stay consistent and take on Erickson Lubin. Lubin's coming off arguably his career best win against Jesus Ramos, and I'm a good friend. I'm not going to say I'm a good friend of Jesus Ramos, but we do follow each other. I have interviewed him, and I do respect Ramos a lot, and I do like the kid a lot. I'm a big fan of him. But I'm actually not one of the people that's pushing the narrative that it was a robbery fight, because I felt that Ramos didn't let his hands go enough. And you can argue he won the fight, you can argue he lost the fight, but I definitely wouldn't call it a robbery at all. Erickson Lubin outperformed my expectations and looked very good in that bout. And I'm not mad at him getting the victory at all. Yes, I wish Ramos got the victory. He's my friend. I've interviewed him. But Lubin looked great in that fight. And Ramos is such an underrated fighter. I think Jesus Ramos would give He would give Tszyu and Vergil Ortiz very difficult fights. He's capable of beating those guys, I feel. I think Ramos, when he lets his hands go, when he's fully giving it his all, I think he's very capable of beating Vergil Ortiz and Tszyu. I'm not saying he would have, but I'm saying he's capable. He's on that level. I think he's very underrated. And Erickson Lubin fought a great fight. He fought the perfect fight because I felt if he fought him any other way, he would have been stopped. So he did what he had to do and got the victory. And I think Lubin versus Tszyu is a very good fight. It's a fun matchup, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. I hope it gets set within the next couple of months. Hopefully it happens in April, sometime around that range. It'd be a really good fight that I definitely tune into. And Vergil versus Tszyu later in the year, that's the fight to make. That's the fight at 154. I'm going to tell you right now, the winner of that fight is fringe pound for pound, especially if it's Tszyu, because Tszyu's really built his resume. Vergil Ortiz, if he wins that fight, probably not pound for pound, but he is borderline if he gets that victory. It's a really good fight, man. Objectively, it's such a good fight. Both fighters are always in great fights. Their styles would mesh so well. It would just be a complete war, but it'd also be a really good technical match as well. You'd see a lot of high-level fighting, but you'd also see some brawling on the inside. It's a fight that needs to be made. As I said, hopefully it happens this year. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. Who do you think wins between Tszyu and Vergil Ortiz? How do you see it playing out? Right now, I think I'm on the fence, but if I had to pick someone gun to my head, I'd probably slightly pick Vergil, just because I feel Vergil's natural ability is a lot higher than Tszyu. But as I said before, Tszyu's work ethic and his improvements, he's gotten so much better that it's to a point where it's very close. It's very back and forth. It's a very tough fight for me to call, but I think I would, by the skin of his teeth, I would go Vergil Ortiz right now. But honestly, that pick can very well change. I'm not going to stick with that prediction no matter what happens. I'm very confident that either I'm going to pick Vergil to win in a different way, or I might even switch to Tszyu. I just need some more time before I make an official pick, but I'd probably slightly lean towards Vergil at this point. But I'm not confident at all in that pick, and I'd want to see a lot more from Vergil. Hopefully that Josh Kelly fight gets made where he takes on someone else solid at 154, because Frederick Lawson, I never ranked him at all. I remember when Kevin Bezier beat him, I never ranked him as a high-level fighter at all. And yes, he took him out in a round, but the stoppage is also quite poor as well. So I would like to see more from Vergil Ortiz at 154 before I make a confident pick. And I feel Tszyu is a very live dog. Thanks for watching, guys. Tell me down in the comment section below. Tell me your prediction. How do you see the fight playing out? What do you want to see next from both fighters? Have a good one, guys. God bless. I'll see you guys later. Peace.